it's always been about humans, right? Always, everything about humans. Humans this, humans that. And I wanted to make this space specifically for animals and insects and the beings that live under the soil.
That was Danielle Fernandez, one of 2 humans stewarding the land at the Calibird and Bee Pollinator Sanctuary in the Bayview. I'm Jeff, and this is Storied San Francisco. In this podcast, we hear first from Isaiah Powell, Danielle's partner and the guest on this show back in the summer of 2020. Isaiah catches us up on what he's been up to in the nearly 2 years since we all met him. Then we meet Danielle as she explains how a vision from nearly 10 years ago led to what she's setting out to do on a little patch of land off Palou Street. Here's Isaiah.
Since the first time we met, through all the stuff that's happened, finally. But as far as calling it something, the name we've given it is the Calibird and Bee Pollinator Sanctuary.
I love it. That rolls off right off the tongue. I'll make an acronym out of it, too.
Oh, that would be dope. Yeah.
I'll figure out what it is later. But yeah, March 11th, and we're out here. I'd love to start, Isaiah. Catch us up on the last... I think it's been about 2 years. Almost.
It feels like 17, man.
It was summer of 20.
Summer of 20. So that means it just happened.
Yeah, right.
That was like the beginning of... people were getting through the first round of lockdowns, and they were getting out, and that cabin fever was going on. We had some political turbulence in terms of, just police stuff, and I think we had a different president at that time, which, there was a lot going on. We were at a community garden, the Florence Fang Community Garden, and when we met, Jeff, at that point in time, the woman sitting next to me, she had inspired a movement where we were going to turn a piece of that garden into organics and grow delicious food and bring people in. And
there was an art component to that, too. I remember some of the beds had, right?
They had art on them. Yeah, there was some art and calligraphy, and
yes.
Danny is an artist, and we had further plans to put some of the work she did specifically for this event, this time. That was going to happen then. That was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
We were attracting a whole new group to that garden.
A community?
A whole new part of the community.
Okay.
A whole new part of that greater community. At the time we were volunteering there, it was majority elders, 65 to 85 years old, and primarily Cantonese speaking. And as the site we were stewarding got more popular, thanks in part to you. Let me tell you something. Let me just pause parenthetically to add. The Clark Construction, which does a lot of construction here in Bayview, they built the new forensics lab down there over by Towland. They came through. And donated beds. They donated labor. They built compost bins.
Wow. Fucking right on.
That whole team from Clark Construction. Man, I love you guys. And they heard about us through here. You.
Cool.
Yes, one of them from New York. And he related to, getting out of school and then, where's the American dream? So we connected on thank you.
I think it's in a compost bin somewhere, but anyway.
Right? So
which is a good place to be.
Well, it all goes back to the ground.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, so people got energized by it.
Okay.
And we were doing that, and it was great. And we thought that we should bring that greatness to other spots in Bayview.
I remember that was part of... You talked about it that day. You were like, Dragonspunk Grow is not a place, a specific point A. So that was already you had mentioned that as a dream then.
Thank God it's documented. Yo,
Yeah.
thank
Oh,
God,
yeah.
because when we did that interview, everything was smooth over there, and so it's known. We never wanted to. We wanted to get away from ownership and get more into responsible stewardship.
Love it.
Raise up the vibration in the place and go somewhere else where we're needed.
Yeah. Well, and I will editorialize right here. Ownership is a white supremacist. I mean, come on. It's like, right? No, we're guests here on Earth.
You know, dude, since that time, I've thought a lot. I've mused a lot in my head about where humanity went wrong or different things we could have done at milestones in the human experience. And I came upon, actually, Danny showed me this book called Animal Oppression, transformative book. And it went back to Genghis Khan.
Okay.
And it went back because that marked a different way of social organization and operation. You had, before then, you had light agriculture, hunting and gathering. Then with the Mongol, that group, that time period marked a change where people were using animals to graze and not doing much food gathering or cultivation. And they had a very martial and patriarchal social organization. And because they were just using the animals to graze, once that land is depleted, it forced them to go to the next place.
Right, to keep going.
And their method was rape and pillage.
Right.
And then incorporate their subjects into their greater fold. And what I thought about is like war is evil because it necessitates war to stop the war.
Right.
Because
peacekeepers.
Yeah, we're going to bring democracy through Muhammad.
Yeah.
And it also showed that they were using animals for labor and were subjugating animals too. And it just spread and spread. And so then if you didn't develop a martial culture, you couldn't survive. You're going to get ate up.
Right.
And so I was thinking about that and that was just an aside. I forgot. So let me fast forward. So boom, we were at Florence Fang, and now we're here because someone reached out to Danny and said, hey, would you guys like to come over here? We need some activation here. And what happened is in Bayview, the irony, there's so much beautiful green spaces, but if they're not tended to, they attract garbage. And if I could use foul language to make this point, it's a case of the fuckets. When the big government comes off like they don't give a fuck and people don't feel like the government gives a fuck, then they adopt that crappy ass behavior and they don't give a fuck. The worst manifestation of that I don't give a fuck is not just the apathy, burning up, pyromania, or arson. Which brings us to this spot we're sitting in today, which has been plagued by arson almost systemically. Just a few nights ago, someone lit a fire. And so that's because my theory is people are so disconnected from society. There's a great book called Escape from Freedom. I think Eric Fromm, he's a sociologist back in the day, contemporaries with Freud and all that. And he was...
I know the name.
And so his theory was like, yeah, there's freedom, and then there's obligations, and then you're in a society, and if you're too free from your obligations to society, it could lead to what Emil Durkheim called anomie.
Anomie with an A.
Yeah,
A-N-E-M-Y. Oh,
M-I-E.
Okay.
A-N-O-M-I-E, anomie, and that was a book called Suicide. Emile Durkheim, sociologist in France back in them days, contemporaries with those two guys, Freud and he was talking about people who don't have a place in society, and since they're in Europe, they're tracing it back to Protestant Reformation, from the change from feudalism to the Reformation to big ass capitalism, and they're saying like back in the feudal things, at least people had a place in society that was guaranteed for them, so they have a connection. And they have the obligations, but then as time went on, we went to it was more individual, and people didn't really have a place. You could try to make your place, but people free floating, and so boom, we're here at this spot. Here's a great thing: the train enters San Francisco at the Florence Fang. That's where we all met.
Right.
The second stop or second tunnel it rides through is where we're sitting here now. So we went from the front of our yard to the back of our yard.
Oh.
Same tracks.
Yeah. So y'all are just on the hill over here.
Boom.
Yeah.
Yes.
Where was that place I met you? We didn't record. There was another garden in between the recording and today.
Oh, can I tell you this?
Let's do it.
This is going to be great for people who love San Francisco. And it's good for Storied San Francisco because this brother is dead. But Adam Rogers is the name. Adam Rogers is the name of the garden that you and I were at.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Adam Rogers was born here in Bayview. He was from the Double Rock area in Bayview. Bayview natives know what that is. And they called him Adam Rock Rogers. I'd never met him because he died in the early 70s. But what I gleaned from the historical account and talking to people, he was a man that would bring peace amongst warring factions within Bayview. He organized the youth to go out and sweep up and clean up the streets. There's pictures in the archive of mass gatherings of youth out there sweeping up, picking up trash.
The archives
I
at the
saw
library? Or?
Library. Nope. Look up when you look up his name in the computer.
Yeah.
Those are some of the pictures that come up.
The archivist is a friend of ours. Total sidebar. It's not important.
Oh, dude, we got to talk about that because I want to get some pictures, and I got another thing to say. Oh, so
I'll
anyway,
connect you with her for sure.
Dude, yes, Adam Rogers used to So, one thing I respect about him, when they would do construction, big jobs here, he advocated vigorously that they hire right from here, which wasn't happening.
From the community, yep.
This is Mayor Aliotto's time.
Oh, right.
And so I don't know.
Joe Redevelopment Aliotto.
Oh, is that? Oh, wow. Thank you for filling that on in.
Yep.
So, boom. So you see the relevance of what Adam was advocating for.
Yeah.
So, boom. After that, unfortunately, he was murdered on New Year's Eve of maybe late 70s.
Okay.
But that's the part. They named that
They named
park.
the park for him, and that's where we met between the recording and today.
Indeed.
Got it. Okay. So that was another spot that you had moved on to at that time. Then this happened.
Yeah, because when we left the Fang Garden, we still had funds from the fundraiser.
Right.
And we're just looking to where else can we help?
Mm-hmm.
We started immediately volunteering in the Visitation Valley, which is the town south of Bayview. Mm-hmm. And we were working with Fran Martin, and she is the curator of the Visitation Valley Greenway with Jim Groudon. All right, so boom, we were volunteering. We never stopped, actually. Even though we didn't have a place, we were volunteering everywhere. And then that's how I got invited to Adam Rogers, because Mei Ling from Reckin Park. And I'm going to end this to pass it off.
Okay.
And we also did Latona. Did you go to Latona?
No.
Bees? There's so much, but it's like a mycelial network. There's so many individual great things happening. We want to build up this network. So the Portola Garden Club, Calibird and Bee Pollinator Sanctuary, the Visitation Valley Native Garden that's being built right now. We all connect and know each other. We could all amplify each other, support each other. And that's the next step, is to link all these great gardens that are serving community. So District 10 is just super fortified. And then one day we'll have tours. You could do a walk tour to all these wonderful gardens, get food from here. Alamany, because they all supported here. Alamany has supported. There's hay from Alamany, Will Lyons. Mei Ling taught me how to do pruning. A garden club, Portola Garden Club, they donated and showed mad love. This table we're using right now, that's from Angie. Portola Garden Club. Peace out to Alex, Maggie, and all them over there. And then, of course, Fran Martin and Jim Groudon, okay? Let's talk about Garden for the Environment, all right?
Next Saturday, we're recording with them.
Holy Smoke Fest. So let's talk about Trina Lopez. Let's talk about Alex Kanji. Let's talk about all of them. Let's talk about the brother, what's his name? Raphael from Germany. I don't know where he's from. I want to call him Joaquim every time because he doesn't look like a Raphael. But he's a great guy. He helped us with the that. One love, man.
Quick question before you hand off,
Yes.
Isaiah. When we were at Adam Rogers,
Yeah.
you were telling me, and so this wasn't in the recording, you were telling me about a new thing that you were doing at that time where you were taking weeds and composting them or mixing them with water and then using that as a fertilizer in that area. Do you want to tell folks about that? Did I get it right, what you were doing?
Absolutely. I'm laughing, too, because yesterday I gotta just plug this in real quick. In New York, Danny, she worked, and her job was to take individuals, various backgrounds, but all challenged backgrounds. Some were illiterate at age 50, some just got out of prison, some had emotional troubles, and she placed them in pet care jobs. It was a career enhancing and a career development thing. A lot of times those type of organizations are scams.
Right.
I used to be in one when I had to get the welfare. They make you go to these centers with rundown buildings, Dell computers, okay, with the old school monitors, and they, yo, look for jobs. Hey guys, we got an opening at Applebee's. Now you guys better have your dress shirts.
Right.
One guy even said, yo, Isaiah, do you want me to give you a couple dollars so you can go get a dress shirt? As if, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'd graduated Columbia like 2 years before.
Right.
I wanted to take something and do something. Ooh, Lord. But anyway, a lot of times those organizations get money from the government, take most of the money, and then do bare bones crap and don't do no career placement. Right. Danny was a shining light. She had the highest placement rate ever.
Like a real life pit bulls for parolees. But keeping it a little more real than that.
Keeping it realer than that.
Yeah.
Word.
Cool.
I say that because now we're working with a growth program with great adults who come through. And if you look at the work, they spread most of this. They come through, they're so engaged. And they said that this is one of their favorite places to be. And they're some of our favorite people. They come through. I just said that just to say that we're healing and bringing the balance back holistically. So that has to include to some degree humans too. They have to be repaired so that they can steward it right.
Yep.
We're all a part of the ecosystem. That's the whole thing we're doing is finding our place in the ecosystem. And here's Danielle.
All right. I guess first I want to hear what you're doing here.
Well, my goal here, and actually let me back up a little bit.
Absolutely.
Okay. So 10 years ago, I'm a really big believer in vision boards.
Okay.
So it's just a way to like always be able to look at something and remember what your goals are and remind you day to day. And at that time I was living in New York and I was going and visiting a lot of botanical gardens.
Okay.
Just for peace, because living in New York is very crazy.
You got to find your peace wherever you can get it there.
So I would go and travel to all the botanical gardens, community gardens in Bed-Stuy, and just sit and you know, in summertime it's magical in New York. So everything is lush. It's, you know, it's hot out there. You're sweaty. It's just, yeah. So in my vision board that I ended up putting on my computer as a desk saver, said, one day I wanted to have my own botanical garden.
Awesome.
I'm not kidding.
Yeah. 10 years ago?
10 years ago.
Okay.
So fast forward, here we are, and, you know, super blessed to find this space and be able to be the stewards of the space. And so this is that botanical garden that I dreamed about 10 years ago.
Love it.
So I believe in the power of manifestation.
Just going to say you manifested the shit out of that.
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Because that's where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So my goal is more of a biocentric vision.
Okay.
Although with Isaiah, we're talking about also, you know, working with the most sensitive members of our community. But it's always been about humans, right?
Yeah.
Always, everything about humans. Humans this, humans that. You know. And I wanted to make this space specifically for animals and insects and the beings that live under the soil, you know, because I felt like we've done so much harm to them that this is a way to just, in a small way, shape, or form, give apologies in a way. Reparations.
Yeah.
A lot of people probably don't agree with that. We've had people come through and want, this is a community garden. There are plenty of community gardens
Yes, there are.
that are underused. Adam Rogers. Go up to Adam Rogers and put your energy and time there because no one's up there.
Right.
But this specifically is going to be number one mission is for
Sanctuary.
our animal and plant kin.
Yeah. I was going to say a lot of people against it, but also probably not a whole lot of people thinking along those lines of like what spaces can be used for.
But it opens up that conversation because when we talk about it, it's like, yeah, okay. And then you're like planting a seed.
Oh, nice
right? It's just a
pun.
little seed.
Nice pun.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So what forms, I'm looking at an apiary here, am I not? And then I'm surrounded by beautiful, I'm guessing some native stuff and then some ornamental stuff, some, I don't know.
Yeah.
Besides what I'm seeing, and also maybe mention what we're seing, because this is an audio.
Oh yeah, right.
recording.
Right.
But yeah, what all kinds of things?
Well, we're lucky because we have some mature native plants. So that's what you're seeing over in the entrance. The ceanothus. There's the manzanitas. There's a lot of native sage, milkweed.
It's almost extinct milkweed.
Yep. Different varieties of ceanothus. There's an oak tree at the
Is
end.
ceanothus the bush right here?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, and there's several different types of ceanothus, which I'll show you.
Okay.
When we walk through.
Sure.
So really, I wanted to, in order to attract the native beings, you have to give them their native food source. Yeah, you can give some, they'll feast on other plants, but the majority is that you want to really focus on native plants.
Yeah.
So I went on a mad buying spree and went to all of the native plant nurseries, learned a lot about the native plants, learning about their cycle, what they look like, because I'm not a professional landscaper either.
Right.
I'm a total amateur.
Right.
I've only seen things that I've liked and been like, and then, I imprinted it into my mind of like, how I want things to sort of look like. It's not going to be super perfect. It's just, I want it to be more organic. And so that's where, you'll just kind of see a lot of botanical, a lot of flowers, a lot of, hedges to provide different micro environments and habitats for all those creatures. Like we were just saying, 10 minutes ago, that flying creature, I've never seen that.
That beetle.
Yeah. So that's a really great sign because we're in the middle of an insect Armageddon where the world insect populations are dwindling.
Right.
And if that happens, we will not have very much longer. We will be following that trajectory.
Right.
Which I don't know. I might be okay with.
Right. I was going to say, depends on what your thoughts are.
I don't know. Maybe it's our time to really go.
Could be. I'm not worried about the Earth.
Yeah, me neither.
The Earth is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else you want to say about this spot and what you're doing, what you've done, what's ahead?
Yep. So we're taking it bit by bit. We work a lot, so this is a project that will gradually unfold. What I want to do is put up art. I feel like all my life I've been creating the art that is going to have a place in this garden because it's always been about, birds and insects and beings and things. So a way to display art and then also to connect to I know a lot of artists in the community for them to have an outdoor space and have, groups come through to, as an outdoor art gallery. We do plan on growing some food eventually. and that will be donated.
Human food.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're talking about having some music sometime, like maybe
Some culture.
pop-ups.
Yep.
When I was living in Oakland, and even in San Francisco, when you and I were talking earlier about growing up in our early years, San Francisco, I really loved house music.
Mm-hmm.
And then when I lived in Oakland, I was really into the deep house music community.
Mm-hmm.
And I got turned on to how it could be like the culture, like how you had artists, you had, DJs, you had dancers, you had fashion designers, you had all of these people totally into the music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like a really like life-affirming experience to be on the dance floor and meeting hundreds of people that were on that same wavelength and open to building and you seeing the world in a hopeful way and things. So I would love to somehow bring that here, because I feel like people would really, they might kind of look at it kind of like, wait, what's going on here? But I think they'll connect to it.
That was Danielle Fernandez. On the next episode of Storied San Francisco, we get to know Danielle through her telling the story of her life. Part 2 drops this Thursday wherever you listen to podcasts. Music for the podcast was produced, performed, and curated by Otis McDonald. Original photography is by Michelle Kilfeather. Aaron Lim of Bitch Talk Podcast is our contributing producer. And the show is produced and hosted by me, Jeff Hunt. Now in our 4th season, we have more than 180 episodes available on our website, storiedsf.com, or wherever you listen to podcasts. If you can, please rate and review the show so we can reach even more folks. We love email, and we'd love to hear from you. Drop us a line at storiedsf@gmail.com. Thanks for listening. Stay strong, stay healthy, and we'll see you next time on Storied San Francisco.
This podcast is a proud member of the BFF.FM podcast network. Learn more at podcasts.bff.fm.
BFF.FM, best frequencies forever.